The Christmasaurus by Tom Fletcher, Chapter 16, The Rarest Creature on the Planet. Everything was still. The hunter and his dog Growler stared out across a snowy white desert of empty rooftops, keeping their sights firmly set on one in particular, William Trundle. At midnight, a chime from the town hall clock echoed through the streets, filling the air with a loud glong, then another and another. It was almost time. The hunter could feel it in his evil bones. Growler sensed it too as he shuffled nervously in their snowy hideout. Suddenly, everything seemed to stop. The snow stopped falling. It just hung in the air as if someone had pressed pause. The chimes of the clock tower had stopped early too. Time seemed to be standing still. Santa had arrived. Whoosh! The enormous sleigh burst out of the clouds with such a clatter, it's surprising the entire town didn't wake up at the jingle of sleigh bells and the Christmas carols blasting out of the swirly brass horn of Santa's gramophone. The hunter's beady, greedy eyes lit up as the rarest creature on the planet swooped directly over his head. He could have reached up and touched them as if he'd dared, but that would have given the game away. And if he wanted their heads to hang on his wall, then he needed to stay hidden. The hunter cracked his gnarly knuckles and tightened his grip around his most prized possession, a fully shot-o-matic, high-precision, bangerific, lethal sniper rifle. It was an awful machine for an awful man, and he never left home without it, even if he was just popping out to buy milk. It had a long barrel that was so straight you could use it as a ruler, and on top was a telescopic sight so powerful that if you looked down it on a clear day you could see all the way around the world until you saw the back of your own head. Santa circled the sleigh above the town a few times, making sure he'd found exactly the right house. He'd been known to make a few mistakes in the past. Finally he landed the sleigh on William's rooftop. It was a smooth landing, although the roof was a tight squeeze for such a large sleigh and a herd of galloping reindeer. The hunter couldn't take his eyes off them. There they were, the creatures he'd been dreaming about for what seemed like his whole life. Oh my, he whispered to Growler, they're even more magnificent than I remember. And they really were. Now get out of your sleigh, Fatty, and disappear down that chimney. The hunter muttered under his breath as he watched Santa climb down from the sleigh. Oh, what a wonderful night, cried Santa to his dear. Lovely soft landing that was, my dears. My dears. Well done, jolly smooth indeed. I can tell you've been practising hard. Pays off when you get a wonky little roof like this. Doesn't leave much room for error. But the deer weren't paying attention to Santa. They were sniffing the air. Something smelt funny. Something was stinging their nostrils. It was smoke. Pipe smoke. The deer grunted and shuffled nervously, but Santa paid no notice to them. Oh, hush down, my dearies, I won't be a minute, and then we'll be back up in the clouds, Santa said, as he shuffled round the back of the sleigh and reached in with one arm to retrieve William's gift. Where is it? He said as he fumbled around. Aha! Here it is. He gave it a tug, but didn't want to budge. He tugged it again, but it stayed put, almost as if something were pulling at it from the other end. That's very odd, he said as he tried one last time. He put his big black shiny boot on the lip of the sleigh, and pulled with all his might. Pop! It came free, and the dinosaur-shaped package flew out of the sleigh and into Santa's arms. Santa gave a little chuckle and plodded over to the chimney. Then something very strange happened. It was almost as if the entire world grew very large all of a sudden, while Santa remained the same size. Faster than you can say jingle bells, everything grew. The rooftop, the sleigh, the sky, the reindeer, the house, and especially the chimney. They all blew up like massive magical balloons, but Santa stayed stayed exactly as he was before. Now that everything was extra large, Santa was just the right size to plop his fat belly into the mammoth hole in the top of the chimney and slide down it with ease. The hunter was dumbfounded. He'd never seen such magic before. It gave him the spooks. He quickly forgot about that, though, for he suddenly realised that the time had come. The moment he'd been waiting for. His horrid plan was working perfectly. He raised his heavy, deadly sniper rifle until the super zoom scope was pressed firmly against his bloodshot eye. Down the telescopic sight he could see, sitting perfectly still, 8 magnificently magical flying reindeer. They were in plain sight, clear as day, sitting ducks. He put his long, posh finger round the cold metallic trigger and lined up the crosshair in his sight. "It's almost too easy," the hunter whispered to Growler. "Even you could take this shot." He took a deep puff of the pipe that hung from his chapped lips and held his breath for a moment to steady his aim. He squinted down the sight and a tear of evil excitement plopped over his bottom eyelid and ran down his scarred cheek. "I finally have you." But as his finger tightened on the trigger just before he took the shot, the hunter saw something. Something was moving in the back of the sleigh. "What the devil?" he said, and he realigned his scope to get a better look at what was causing the commotion. Toy sacks were bumping around, bobbing up and down, as if something were underneath them. And that's when he saw it. A shiny, blue, scaly head popped up from the sacks. "I don't believe my eyes," the hunter stuttered as his pipe dropped from his open, gobsmacked mouth. He was staring at a real, living dinosaur. The hunter's life had once again changed forever. Everything he thought he wanted, he suddenly didn't want anymore. A real living dinosaur. Growler, do you know what this means?" the hunter said frantically as he wiped the lenses on his sniper rifle scope and had a second, third and fourth look, just to check that what he was seeing was real. "Take a look, you stupid hound," he said, shoving the scope into Growler's eye. "Those reindeer mean nothing to me now. Look, there's a rooftop full of them, hardly what you'd call rare," he said as he yanked back the rifle to get another look for himself. "But there's only one dinosaur. That scaly, blue, oversized animal over there is without doubt the rarest creature on the planet. The only one in the world, and I must have his head on my wall. Why? If I had the head of that dinosaur in my wall, I would be famous. I'd go down in hunting history. I'd be the greatest hunter of all time." At that moment he tightened his grip on his rifle and took aim at the dinosaur. But the dinosaur was moving around fast. The hunter realised he was sniffing the snow, searching for something. He jumped from the side of the sleigh to the other, sniffing the footprints, ducking in and out of the reindeer's legs. He was a tricky moving target for the hunter, who had no experience of shooting dinosaurs. "Keep still, you little," the hunter mumbled as he climbed out of his hiding place on the rooftop to get a better shot. He walked around the chimney, trying to keep the dinosaur in his sight. The hunter took one step and the dinosaur skipped behind the sleigh. The hunter took another step and the dinosaur hopped up onto the ledge of the chimney. The hunter took one more step and... Swoosh! Bang! The hunter stepped right off the edge of the rooftop and fell 10 metres into the bushes below with a thud, sending a gunshot ringing up into the sky. He'd been so transfixed by the dinosaur that he'd failed to realise he'd been walking towards the edge of the roof. The sound of the hunter's skybound gunshot made the Christmasaurus jump so hard that he lost his footing on the edge of the chimney and slipped right into the magically inflated hole. He fell down the chimney flue into the sooty darkness of the fireplace. The Christmasaurus was in William's home.